Everyone's always going, oh, men's conference. We thought we were going to have a real men's conference. And we're kicking it off today. Yes. Yep. Of course, every year we mark Men's Mental Health Awareness Month in November. So every single Friday for the rest of the month, we're going to invite some incredible men doing incredible things in their field. Each conversation themed around different things. And this week, we're going to kick it off with men and money, unpacking the pressures that men face around finances, the stigma of financial struggle, and why open money conversations are so important.
Because that's one of the things that you're always told to stay away from. Religion, money, and I don't know what politics. That's the other one.
Who do you not talk to about this?
Apparently in public, you just never open up about money, politics, or religion.
Okay, well, joining us in studio, we have three gents who've been through the ups and the downs in very different industries, by the way. Some are richer than others.
Like the gent to your left.
Why did I get a side eye? Why did I get a side eye? Our guest today is Blaque Nubon, founder of the Husband podcast. Can we give him a round of applause?
Blaque.
Great to have you, Blaque.
Thank you.
And then also Nat Ramabulana, award-winning actor and writer, who also stars on a show that is currently streaming on Netflix, Bad Influencer.
Wow.
Yes. And then last but not least, entrepreneur and founder of lifestyle hospitality powerhouse Rockets, and of course a longtime friend of the show, Sean Barber. Yes. I love that you guys are all in like completely different industries. But really it's not about how much money you make, but what it is navigating money as a man. I think there's, so much pressure for a man to, be the man of the home, to be the one who provides the bread and makes sure that there is bread. I don't know who wants to go first. Are these open conversations? Let's start with you, maybe Blaque, because are these conversations you guys are having on the Husband podcast?
Yeah, definitely. I think, finances are a big thing. And whether we like it or not, sometimes it is internalized. Sometimes it is pressure from society where we tether our identity as men to money. And, depending on how much money you have or the lack of, it does hamper your identity and how you show up in public. I mean, you guys probably know of the phenomenon of the ice boy, and so a lot of men don't want to end up as ice boys in their, friendship circles. And I think even with that reality, just again speaks about the importance of money when it comes to the male identity or masculinity overall.
And is this something you're aware of as like a young boy, that you as a man one day need to be the provider? You need to make a certain amount of money. Sean, you can take that.
I think so. From when you're younger, that's the patriarch of the family would be expected to provide. It's not unusual for that to happen and for that to feel that pressure from when you in your teenage years, early 20s, going to late 20s, that pressure actually grows as your responsibilities increase.
Yeah.
That pressure that you feel gets bigger and bigger, yeah.
And I think you're absolutely right. I mean, now, Sean, for example, you've built a whole, a huge industry of your own, conglomerate. But that wasn't always the case, I think my question, which I found very difficult, especially in the early years of my relationship with my now current wife, was being more open and honest with her about our financial situations. I think as guys, we have this pressure of pretending that everything's okay and not letting them in on what's really going on. We'll take care of it ourselves. We'll take all the pressure on ourselves without bringing in our partners. At what point, I think, even Sean, for you, I'll go back to you because I know you're married. At what point were you open and honest with your wife? Was it from the get-go, or once things were okay, or what happened there?
I think it's funny you say current wife. If a man loses his money, he's not going to have a wife.
Who knows what might happen
another conference.
My current wife, his times are good. I think if
I said you're currently married.
No, you said your current wife. I think if you have the right choice in a wife or a partner, if it's a woman and her husband, I think it's a discussion you should have between each other all the time. I think if
from dating,
if these secrets, where especially on the money side of things, that can exponentially get worse if they start off on the wrong footing. So there should always be open and honest communication when it comes around finances, definitely between partners.
I think there's also just societal pressures, right? Society says a man must, indoda must, is the language that is used. And you're not like any other human, like a female. You're not always able to. How do you navigate those moments, Nat?
Well, especially as an actor, yes, most certainly. It gets tricky. No, so I've been both in a relationship. I've been the one who is being taken care of and the one taking care. I'm most definitely more comfortable with taking care. It comes.
Why?
It's because it feels good as a man. You know what I mean? And it comes naturally. You know what I mean? I think the problem with money is that the conversation we should be having is about power. So what I've had to learn is that money is not power. And so it actually doesn't matter then who's making the money. But as long as you establish that just because I make more money, it doesn't mean that I have power. So I'm a man, I'm making more money. Does that mean I come home and,
Boss
just
you
switch
around.
on? You know what I'm saying? It doesn't mean that.
Trust me,
And
I know that
think-
money is not power. My wife reminds me every day.
So-
Every day.
Exactly, your current wife.
My current wife.
But I don't know if society understands that though, Nat, right? Because
Yeah.
I think females are guilty of it in as much as men are, to feel that if you bring home the butter, you hold the power. I think also women, we are guilty of it. I mean, I don't speak for all women, but I think generally women are guilty of relinquishing that power for monetary. If you have money, I'll relinquish. So almost a barter system.
Yes. So I have a friend who recently, I found out on a WhatsApp status post, he got divorced. And I hadn't seen him in a while. I called him. I was like, bro, what happened? What's wrong? And like, it was bad. He posted himself like in a back room, TV. You know what I mean? It just looked. And I was like, what happened? And he spoke about it. We spoke about it. And eventually the conversation came to money. He said, my wife earns more than me.
Sure.
And you know what that's like. So I was like,
No,
I don't. But, But then I've had an interesting year because my agent, anyway, she stole money from me.
Hectic.
Lots. Yes. Lots and lots of money from me. It's made things interesting. And it's changed the dynamics in the house. And I was thinking to myself, wait a minute. It's, my wife has had to step up, but nothing has changed.
I
know
think
what I
it
mean?
takes a man's man to feel that way, because
But it means I need to be vulnerable.
correct. We're going to speak vulnerability and so much more. It's an open-ended conversation, so you can join in as well on 011 8838 947. We continue with our very first men's conference next.
947 Drive with Thando.
This is 947.
If you just tuned in, welcome to our very first men's conference.
Yeah.
Everybody. We're hanging out with three incredible gentlemen: Blaque Nubon, founder of the Husband Podcast; Nat Ramabulana, award-winning actor and writer; and Sean Barber, who's an entrepreneur and founder of Rockets, and of course, long-time friend of the show. The topic for today is men and money, and I think just before 4 o'clock, we were talking about how money adds sort of, a power dynamic in relationships, particularly. But how close is your sense of self-worth linked to your buying power? Let's start with you, Blaque.
I mean, it's closely linked, but I think it shouldn't. I think money always exposes whatever character you've already built. So I always encourage guys that, work on your character more, whether you have money or not, because, when money does come, it's just going to expose what kind of guy you already
actually
built.
are.
You know what I mean? Or even the lack of money.
Yeah.
When you do get pressure because you're unemployed and you're married, family needs to be cared for, whatever, it's going to reveal the kind of man that you already are. So I think just spend much time working on your identity and try and detach that from how much money you make, yeah.
How do women make you feel about your sense of self-worth and it being linked with your buying power? Is that a factor for guys at all?
That's
That's a
why I'm
trick
married,
question.
man. That's why I'm married.
That depends on the woman.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
I think if a woman sees your self-worth by how much money you have, you're with the wrong woman.
No, I'm talking about you and your self-worth. So how much do you link how you think women feel about you to your buying power? Do you know what I mean?
I think every man feels they have to be rich to have a girlfriend. For the long, even high school, I couldn't think of asking out a girl, like if I didn't have anything. What would I do? Where am I going to take her? What am I going to
back then,
buy?
wasn't it easier back then, right? Because then you're going to maybe the spaza shop and buying her some chips.
Plaza shop.
No?
No.
I think a lot of it has to do with how much you genuinely like yourself. So your own self-esteem. Because I think money, like you're saying, of course, exposes whatever vices you have and pulls out all your personality traits. But I think if you are so confident in yourself, going back to high school or whatever it may be, if you're confident, and I was never rich, still not rich, but if you're confident enough and like yourself enough, money just adds to that. I think it's like a cherry on top.
But isn't the whole idea of courting based on me impressing you?
Yeah, but I
and
can
me-
be funny and do that.
No, look, I'm basing it.
So far.
I'm basing it.
Maybe second date.
I'm basing
Can't,
it
can't continue laughing on an empty stomach.
on what people.
But there's the thing, like if you really want to see if a girl is worth it, then
Yeah,
take her out and don't have everything you have. Like let her
but are men doing that? Right?
probably not enough,
yeah.
man, you know. But it's I don't know. It is a thing. I think you do feel more confident if you go out, if you take a woman out. I mean, I've been married for a long, long time, so I can assume it's not something for me to consider anymore. But if you do have disposable income and you do take someone out, I'm sure you do feel more confident about it. That's a natural feeling, is it not?
I'm going to ask a question, and it's closely linked to really the theme of bad influence of the show, and how women will date men essentially for money and what the men can buy them. Why do men do that? You know, like, are you as men aware that you're doing that when you're doing it, and why do you do it?
Power. I mean, it's to have a say, so I can, what's it, volume lom type of thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, I need an entry point. I need something that's going to give me access. Widely by society, it's been accepted that money gives me that access. So it's something we all recognize, we all accept, and I'll do it. You accept it, and then it's on that basis that we continue.
But do you want to be with somebody who is with you for that basis?
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I'm glad, I got married, and before I was on TV, because it allowed us that freedom to just get to know each other and develop that trust.
You also fall into this trap if you do that, where you're setting unrealistic expectations that in many cases you can't keep up with.
Yep.
So if the first date is at Rockets, for example, now money starts
to
to
impress her.
Yeah, but I'm
You
saying,
should go all out there.
but the problem is that if the first date is at Rockets and I spoil her and treat her, and then we hit my real life and I realize I can't keep that up every month,
Yeah.
every week, or whatever it may be. But sometimes we do have to order KFC in, or have to cook at home. And I think a lot of guys start off with these crazy expectations, start flying you business class, and then reality hits and you realize, oh, that's not really where I'm at yet in my life, and I can't sustain that at all.
And that's one thing I wanted to say, that I think, when you look at divorce stats, they present two issues, sex and money. But underneath all of that is uncommunicated expectations, So before you get into a relationship with somebody, I think you need to be as transparent as you can about, how much money you have and how much money, you're intending on making, and what pressures that you have for making and even keeping up with that money. Because I think if you don't communicate where you are, it will come back to bite you. And I think that's why a lot of relationships tend to end.
I think also money has it affects men's mental health, right? Because of the reasons you guys have stated, that money equals power. It opens access. You're able to, sit next to this girl or talk to that girl. If you at Rockets, you're ordering a bottle, then all of a sudden, I don't know, there's a flurry of women around you. Are we having conversations around what that bottle, and I don't mean to kill your business, but what that bottle calls?
Trust me, you're not going to.
It could be a bottle of water.
Well, but it's not, right?
No.
It's like the most expensive bottle of champagne. It's like, it's a barter system. And my question is, and I know women get blamed a lot, and I'm not taking away any blame from women, but what are men doing, and how are they contributing to some of the societal issues and ills that currently exist, where you are allowing this behavior, where you are buying that bottle, where you are expecting something in exchange for that bottle? Is that where we are? Are we at a point where we must just be okay with it if it's two adults that are agreeing with the behavior?
I think your spend capacity is being a status, and that as a status is a societal norm that's been around for decades. That's not something new. But if you are in an environment where you're forced to do that to impress someone, then you're with the wrong person, and you're putting yourself under pressure, as Msizi said, that's not sustainable going forward. You don't want to be in that position. So as Blaque said as well, it starts with open communication, finding the right partner. The expectations of each other are very clear. Maybe it's your 2, 5, 10-year plan together. And those type of...
Except most of these men aren't there to it's not like they're there to marry the woman.
Well, then it's a lot... but then it's two different topics.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Are you talking for instant gratification, or are you talking for life partner type environments? You know what I mean? If it's the former, then what does it matter?
Yeah, we're having a frank, open conversation. It's our men's conference. If you'd like to ask questions to the gentlemen, 011 88 38 947.
947 Drive with Thando.
This is 947.
If you just tuned in, we are in the middle of our men's conference. And of course, November marks Mental Health Awareness Month, Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. And one of the most alarming indicators of men's mental health is that men are 4 times more likely to commit suicide than women are in South Africa.
I'm glad we're having that conversation on the day we talk about money, because I think a lot of that has to do with money. I always say to people, I know it's always a joke, but somewhat true, that 90% of my problems would be solved just by money.
Yeah.
You know, and I think a lot of guys attach their mental health and how they feel about themselves. And of course, when you feel like you're letting down your family, your partners, that brings down your own mental health. And a lot of that has to do with money.
Nat, you spoke of just around men having to be vulnerable.
Yes. I think it's there's so many levels to this thing, right? So as men, we have male privilege, which we have to deal with. And in the face of male privilege, you know, you are someone who's benefited for so long. And as a result, you know, you have a position in society, and that position affords you, you get away with a lot of stuff. But then at the same time, when you put that against women needing to be vulnerable, that's a different kind of privilege. Because how do I communicate that I'm not feeling as strong in this moment, but then the expectation always is that I'm meant to be the strong one. And I think we haven't managed that. We haven't managed that transition yet.
How do you balance that? How do you deal with that, whether it be in work or in your relationship, finding that balance, Sean, to be vulnerable but still be strong, right? Because us women, we're asking you to be supermen.
But even more so in your case, where you've got a lot of people that look up to you as a strong leader, and when we, from appearances and we know you, you've got to have all your things and pieces together all the time. When are you taking time, I guess, to be vulnerable?
I think it goes back to finding the right partner for yourself. You know, that's the biggest investment of your life, is finding the person that you're going to spend it with. And she or he will allow you to be vulnerable at the times you need to be. If you've got the wrong person and you go home and you've got all these pressures, you can't share it. You can't say, you know, business is tough, or you might need to help me take the reins. That pressure gets, you know, exponentially bigger. And that's where you start to unravel. You know,
But
so
who's first? Who does she give you that opportunity, or do you take it?
I think
How does
communication is both ways. It's about, you know, it's timing. One person has to go first.
Yeah.
You know, I think you need to be able to communicate.
I would argue that the man has to initiate that. You know, women naturally carry and they multiply. And so the more vulnerable I am towards my wife, I think she'll reciprocate that and become more vulnerable, and then there'll be that exchange.
Yeah.
But I sit on the other side of the fence when it comes to vulnerability. I think vulnerability only should exist in marriage and nowhere else. And part of why we have such high rates of suicide is because we have men who then, you know, I could use this word, prematurely become vulnerable in spaces that can't hold that vulnerability. And a man's vulnerability that is exposed and in a space where it cannot be cared for, there's no safety, those men either become one of two things. They can either become contemptuous to the people that they became vulnerable to, and those people did not reciprocate any safety towards that vulnerability, or that man becomes violent. And that's what we see a lot of men resorting to, because he became vulnerable in a context that cannot hold his vulnerability. You know, vulnerability, the word itself means the ability to be wounded. And so if I'm gonna, you know, give somebody carte blanche access to wound me, then I'm saying to that person, you need to care for me in ways that no one else should. And I think then a lot of men, you know, tend to become vulnerable in places that cannot hold that vulnerability, and therefore we're bleeding in spaces that cannot hold us properly.
Are there then enough spaces for men to become vulnerable?
No, there isn't, and that's the thing. You know, that's why I say, I think, you know, to what Sean is saying, get married, man. Find somebody that you're gonna build a life with.
And apart from marriage, and I get what you're saying about the right person, but what about within like your friendship circles? I mean, I speak a lot of my problems to my closest core group of friends. And we'll go for a beer at Hudson's or whatever, and we'll start talking about what's going on, or play a round of golf, and we'll all just let out and vent what's been going on.
So I would call that transparency. And I think men should be extremely transparent. Vulnerability, on the other hand, is saying to somebody, here's all of who I am, and I'm giving you permission to change me at a fundamental level. So I'm giving you access to change my identity. And
Change and support.
And support. And I cannot give that permission to anybody
anyone.
else, even my closest friends. But I should be as transparent as I can be with my friends. And transparency is that, and saying, gents, here's where I'm at, and I'm willing for you to speak into that. And therefore, I'll decide afterwards what I do with that advice. But for my wife, I'm saying to her, here are the tools, and you can shift the furniture inside my soul.
Sure.
Right? And so that's why I think men should be vulnerable with somebody who has also committed to looking after them for the rest of their
Who
lives.
teaches you that, right? Because I mean, like and I mean this for like the everyday man, right? Like for the most part, you are taught don't cry, don't feel, don't emote. So who teaches men that even just in marriage or in a partner, whatever it may be, is at least one space, right? Are you taught vulnerability? When you were a child, are you told you can be?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you've got the right upbringing, or if you had a positive upbringing and a supportive upbringing. But as Msizi said, you could have a good group of friends. It becomes from being discerning. Your friends can teach you, your wife can teach you, your parents can teach you. You know, you can teach yourself. You can have the power of introspection to look within yourself and see where you can personally grow as well.
Yeah.
There's many different fields you can learn that from.
Sure. We'll wrap up the conversation. It is our men's conference. If you've got any questions, if you want to add to it, 0663818609.
947 Drive with Thando.
This is 947.
Wrapping up our very first men's conference. If you just tuned in, we are in conversation around men and money, hanging out with Blaque Nubon, founder of the Husband Podcast, Nat Ramabulana, award-winning actor and writer, as well as Sean Barber, entrepreneur and founder of Powerhouse Rockets. And we're speaking all things money. Is it true that men are uncomfortable with women who make more money than they do? Blaque.
Generally, but I think it shouldn't be. But generally, yes, a lot of men are uncomfortable.
What is it about that makes you uncomfortable?
I think it's, some of the stuff that Nat spoke about earlier on, just feeling like your power is usurped, it's taken away from you. But for me, it goes back to what you believe your identity is. And so if I'm going to, tie my identity to money and power, then sure. If my wife makes more money than me, then I'll feel like that. But I have to be, just solid within who I believe I am and I'm called to be, and the kind of man I've told my wife and my friends I'm becoming. So then it doesn't matter how much money my wife makes.
Do men then go out seeking women they can save, quote unquote? That, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to go after her because she's too powerful. She's too rich. I'll never get to that point. Is out of my league does it actually mean I can't afford you? And not because the person you're trying to court has said this is how expensive I am, but because you look at me and you see what I can do for myself and you feel you can't match or beat that. Not that I even asked you to match or beat that.
Men are fragile. We are extremely sensitive, and we don't like our masculinity being questioned. It's a conversation we don't enjoy having. So going back to Black's point of choosing who to be vulnerable with, when you do have to have that kind of a conversation, you want to make sure it's the right person. So, so I will. So in the beginning, I will go out of my way to not have that conversation. I don't want to.
But say we're not together, Matt. So Nat, you're just looking at me, and you reckon actually you can't afford me. Are you walking away?
Absolutely.
I think the question then.
It depends. How long do you want to go there for? But if you're going to date her, there's definitely more pressure if she makes more money than you. As a man, there would be, yeah.
I guess then the question is, what governs masculinity?
There's societal norms that men are expected to provide. If that obligation doesn't fall on you,
but it doesn't mean you're not providing.
To a certain extent, it does. It does, of course it does.
I think it goes back to Sean's earlier point, which I like. I mean, I always say to people, I wish my wife made a lot more money than me and I could be kept and work less or whatever. But at the same time, I know that I would hate that. because there's a sense of like pride and sense of like self-worth that's tied into, I know that I'm providing, I'm looking, like I feel proud when I can come home with stuff.
So then
and I
must
can
we
do
seem
things.
like damsel in distress?
No, not at all. No.
But women also resent leaving home a man who is, while she's going to work and he's just going to stay home. Like, it might be fine for a day.
He's a broke ass man.
But it's not going to stand for a month or, more.
She won't respect him.
No.
I think fundamentally, men want, naturally we want to be risk takers and we want to, be seen as taking care of things, and we want women to be soft. So I think we can divorce money from this thing. Just be soft. I need to feel like I'm needed, and you need to feel like you cared for, and we can do that outside of money.
How then, as a woman, do you find the balance? Like I'll speak for myself, and I've said this plenty times, and many people don't believe me, but I have a hard time asking. Like I have a hard time asking. Does then that make a man feel less than? Because I'm not saying, please help me with such and such.
So you don't necessarily have to ask stuff. That's what I'm saying. Like just be a woman. Right?
What does that mean? What does that mean? Be a woman.
There's a level of softness that you have naturally that even if I try, I cannot, bring up.
Nurture.
I just need to come home, even if my wife doesn't say, yo, please do stuff for me. But man, like, there's just a softness in how she speaks to me. There's a softness in how she carries
That's
herself.
also a question of vulnerability, isn't it?
Yeah, sure. But once I see that, and I've always said to my wife, if you demonstrate a level of softness, I'm not a particularly big guy, but that also builds something in me that if a bear would walk into this house with my skinny hands, I will take care of
and
that
it doesn't have to
bear.
be about money. Like
Doesn't
you
have to be
say,
about
men
money.
want to feel needed at the end of the day. We do.
Yeah.
That's in our nature. It's as simple as you going, and I know that you could do it yourself, but asking me to go replace a light bulb.
Yeah.
You need me for something. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be, I need you to buy this for me.
What about the woman who's been asking you to replace it and it's been a week?
Well,
and
not all men are built the same. You know what I'm saying?
Well, we've got Nogwazi on the line. Nogwazi, good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon to the gentleman there. Good afternoon.
Hi, Nogwazi. Talk to us.
All right, so I'm not sure of his name. Is it Blaque, the one who spoke about vulnerability?
Yes, that's Blaque.
All right. I just wanted to tell him that he said it with such clarity. It was succinct. It was depth. And he spewed such wisdom with ease and conviction. And I just wanted to ask him if he gives talks, because that's what he should be doing.
Thanks so much for that, Nogwazi. He actually has an entire podcast, Blaque.
I do have a podcast. It's called That Husband. So it's 2 words, That Husband. And to answer your question directly, I do give talks. You can drop me an email at booking@blaquenubon.com. That's booking@blaquenubon.com.
Manisha, good afternoon.
Hi there, how are you?
Good, how are you doing?
Good, thanks. I must say that I am so happy that you guys are doing this men's conference.
We're fixing the men, Manisha, one man at a
Fixing
time.
the men one at a time. I must say that I am so for men's mental health, and I think this is great, and it's a great platform. I am just married for over a year now, and that's my baby. And earlier, you guys were speaking about setting expectations early in your relationship. And with my husband, when we started, just before we started dating, we had the conversation, and he was very open and honest and vulnerable about his finances. And like the gentleman said, being vulnerable with your wife is very important, because you open up that doorway of, setting the tone and allowing someone to sort of fix it. And yeah, I think it's great. And I mean, I know I'm speaking a lot, but I come from a single mom, that grew me up, and I never had to depend on a man. So it was very difficult to be vulnerable myself. And I think also just allowing him to feel needed is important.
Very valid, that. And I think in as much as we're having a conversation around men and how men are dealing with it, we also, as women, need to be cognizant of how we are in relation to our men and how we contribute to their mental health. And, small things like, I think it was Anisha just said, being vulnerable, feeling, and I think I'm the same. Like, I'm Mbogoto through and through, but I understand now, at least, the importance of, it's not diminishing my own lights, but it's finding or realizing that I actually can't do it all. In fact, I don't need to do it all. There's a reason a man and a woman, and I don't want to do it all.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, it's been absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much for spending the afternoon with us. Blaque, do you want to just tell people where they can find you again?
Yeah. So you can find me on That Husband podcast, or you can follow me on Instagram. It's Blaque Nubon, BLAQUE space NUBON.
And Nat Ramabulana is on Bad Influencer, which is currently streaming on Netflix. He plays a very serious detective there.
Okay.
Very serious detective who does like a bust. So go and check Nat out.
It's
Thank
doing
you
very
so
well, by the way.
Yeah.
We've got number 9
Wow.
on US.
Yes, I saw that.
Netflix, and number 1 here for a week running. So it's
And
great.
a
And
part
you shot an episode at Rocket.
Yeah.
Don't forget that.
We shot an episode at Rocket.
a part of
That's
it
why it's doing well.
is at Rockets, and of course we can find Rockets nationwide.
Across the country.
Thanks.
Sean,
Yeah, you can.
wait, tell us where.
You see a Rockets man near you.
there 2 weeks ago.
Who, me?
Yeah, when you phoned me without a booking.
Wow, no, that wasn't
Sounds about
okay.
right.
Bye, Sean. Bye, guys. Thank you so much.
947 Drive with Thando.
This is 947.